Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Tuesday Conversation with Friends for 2021. Today, I have Tessa with me. Tessa, would you please tell us who you are? And then I will share why I just love the idea of having you with me today.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you for having me. So my name is Tessa Sawchuk. I'm a piano teacher. That's who I am. I've been a piano teacher for Shirley gets mad at me when I say, but let's just say over 30 years. Yeah. And piano has always been my side gig, yet it's really been my main gig. And I've had many other side gigs, which maybe I thought were main gigs on the side, that have helped me grow as a piano teacher, and certainly then be able to pour my experiences into my business as a piano teacher. And I think it's some of those experiences that you wanted me to share today.
Yes. And first of all, I want to express my personal gratitude towards you because in the beginning, the way we met was in the beginning of the pandemic. Tessa started a Facebook group dedicated to online piano teaching. It was not about she creating this group so she has a program to sell. And it was just purely because Tessa is one of those unusual people. She started teaching online and moved to being online exclusively actually a few years before the pandemic hit. And she's always had a very organic way of marketing herself, much like the way other business people would do. People in other industries, which I'm familiar with. And she is very generous in sharing her experiences in how to market and differently than what you see in those other groups because it's organic. It's not about Facebook ads. It's about relationships as well as the technology aspect of how to teach online. So it really struck me as something that was very generous, and I have personal gratitude towards you. And I also would like to share with people because I think we're really fatigued and oversaturated with all those people who are trying to sell programs. You join those groups, you're getting some information, but you're always kind of nervous because you feel they want to sell you something, and they do. And the methods they sell is something they've taken a course somewhere else versus real life experience, and that has had proven success even pre-COVID and translates very well. You're a trendsetter, and what you do is different, and I would love to talk about those things.
Sure. Well, I started that online piano teacher really on a whim. I was part of a different group. Well, several different groups.
Right?
And one of the things I wanted to get away from was negativity.
Yes.
There's a lot of negativity at going towards online teaching.
Yes.
And I already taught online. Now, you said that exclusively online, but I actually do have a few students that that had been coming in person,
Right.
but really limiting that and focusing on my online piano teaching. I love to travel. Online teaching works well for traveling, and so that's kind of that was my way to go.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect time to start talking about it because for teachers like myself, I have really embraced the whole online teaching thing. I did some online teaching prior. I've taken lessons online myself with my voice teacher in New York.
Sure.
And so I think we're faced with some ideas and decision making as things begin to move towards the next phase. And so I think this is really a perfect time to have this conversation.
Yeah, I do too. The thing is, you need to know, first of all, before we move to the next part, the world opening up, you need to kind of come to a decision on what kind of teacher you want to be.
Right.
It really, if you're going to prepare students to be a concert pianist, for example, or really a performer, then you may want to be teaching in person. And perhaps hybrids, back and forth, but you will want to have that in person. And if you want to be able to teach beginners how to play piano, or even because I teach Royal Conservatory, I teach all the way through the whole Royal Conservatory, which is, college level, some of them.
Right.
And it works really well online.
Yes, I agree.
Really works well. There are things that I can do online that I had wished my teacher had done for me. You know?
I'm right with you because I have some students preparing for level 10 as we
Yes.
speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, I think it's a mentality. And my personal lessons with, let's say, my voice teachers in New York, we're all professionals. And I see him when I can see him when I travel to New York. But this was before the pandemic. And, so I think it can be done. And it's,
It absolutely can. And there's
mm,
tools that we can use. I've always been completely entranced with newest technology.
mhm.
You know, before my joke that I always tell is before the World Wide Web even existed, I was jumping in in technology. That was a long time ago. You know, using when MIDI first was invented, using that right away in my studio, doing different things just to help and enhance the student's experience.
Mm.
And why not use it? I'm sure in my back of my head, I see Beethoven from remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Oh, yes.
Beethoven was right in the with all the newest technology and loving it. That's what I've kind of like. Okay, if Beethoven, I know that was a movie, but if he liked it,
Hey,
I'm sure they would not have gawked at it. You know, it's just fun for the students, and
yeah,
it doesn't hinder them, and that's the important thing.
it doesn't have to hinder them.
Yes,
I
yes,
think it's a mentality because I find that what's being important for me is reverse engineering. I'm not changing my learning objectives. I'm not changing the goals or where I want them to reach.
Mhm.
But I'm changing the process, what I can do to help them. And I'm constantly adding a camera angle, adding a different tool,
Yes,
and,
exactly.
just changing and not being stuck with this is the way I learned it, this is the way
Yes.
I teach it.
And
And
not being
it's not
afraid
about me.
not being afraid to try. Not everything will work.
No,
But if you don't
no.
try, but if you don't try, you won't know that. And then when you do try, you'll find other things that really do work.
And
You
do
know,
you find this to be true? I find my students are much more willing to take risks when they see their teacher is willing to take a risk to try something. And I actually tell them, I'm going to try something. It may work, it may not work, but this is what we're trying to accomplish. Can we try together? I invite them to be part of the partnership. Even when they're children, they're excited to try new things. And I find that they're more willing to try even during their practice because I'm willing to try.
exactly.
Yeah.
I believe that. And in fact, I learn in doing that, the students also do the same to me. Like, hey, can we
Yes.
try it this way? And then for
Mm.
me, I'm learning new things going, oh, I didn't even know we could do that.
Right?
And
I love that.
wonderful. You know, I used Zoom for so many years before I found out you can actually annotate on both ends of the whiteboard.
I know, isn't that crazy? Yes. And it doesn't even have to be on the whiteboard. The students can annotate, even if you just
Yes,
share your
that's
screen via iPad.
doing
I said,
PDFs or yes,
why
it's
are you writing? Wait a minute. Wait a minute, you can write?
exactly. I love it.
Right.
I love it. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that's kind of the first thing. You have to decide what kind of teacher you want to be. If you do not want to teach online, you don't have to teach online.
Right.
But if you want to teach online, if you want to, then strive to be the best teacher you can be online,
Yes.
and your students will do well. I
Yes.
don't I think there's a place in the world for both of us, for the online
I
teacher
agree.
and for the in-person teacher.
Right.
You know, there are
Yes.
benefits, certainly benefits to both. But in
Right.
my many, many years of teaching, one of the things I've noticed, not every one of your students is going to go on to become a concert pianist.
No.
They won't. But
No.
that does that make them not worthy enough for what's ahead of them? You don't want to teach them. You can teach them, and you can make them a musician who loves music, who will have music in their heart until the day they die. They'll give it to their children, and
It's not just what we really want because,
it affects
we have to create an audience for the
yes,
future, right?
yes, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. So when I think about marketing, if we jump back to marketing,
Please do.
the first thing you need to do is brand yourself. And I don't necessarily mean coming up with a logo, coming up with a name, although that, for
That helps.
us creative people, that's a lot of fun, and you
It
want
really is, but that's not going to tell you.
branding yourself is really figuring out your own story.
That's right.
Now, one of the things I actually have in my history is selling Mary Kay. Mary Kay Cosmetics. I still use Mary Kay. I've used Mary Kay since the 1980s. And Mary Kay Cosmetics, their company is studied even by Harvard. They study their
Yes,
marketing plan. Their marketing plan is so worth the $100 it costs to get into the company.
I
just to get
understand. I agree.
just to
Yes.
get all that information. It's amazing.
Mhm.
One of the things they talk about is knowing your why story.
Yes.
And I know there's TED Talks on the why story also. You need to know who you are, what brought you to where you are, where you want to go, but most importantly, why? Why are you doing what you do?
I think that's so
Right?
important. Especially, I think most people who are musicians have this internal need of purpose.
Yes.
We chose to be in music not usually because we feel like we're choosing it, but very often we do feel chosen by music, right?
Certainly.
And right, so I think there's that very, I think as humankind in general, pervasively, people have a sense of need for purpose. Remember I don't know how long, 10 years ago, it was a really big thing, 15 years ago, with a purpose-driven life. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's we as musicians tend to be very sensitive people, that we're acutely aware of certain things, and this is one of the areas that's very important to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's that passion, that
Yes,
drive that
yes.
that will define who you are,
Mm,
right? And how you want to create your life. And really it's how you want to create it. So if you want to be a performer, what are you doing to be a performer?
right.
If you're wanting to be a teacher, you have to decide. You start with this big story, and then you need to narrow it down to your elevator pitch. Why, like as a piano teacher, why do I want to take piano lessons from you? What makes you different from every other piano teacher in the world? And you need to know that. You need to know that you're going to get that question. And if you just say, oh, well, because I teach piano,
And also,
come take lessons
it's
from
not
me.
about your
You know,
degrees. It's not
no,
about all those other things. They are
not at
important
all.
because they're part of your journey to become who you
Sure,
are.
sure.
But it's really about where does this journey has taken you individually, and that makes you
Yes,
unique to what you have to
absolutely.
offer.
I think about that often when you said, do you have to have your degree? So I think about in the 1980s, 90s, the Chicago Bulls had this phenomenal basketball team.
Mhm.
And Michael Jordan, you know, playing basketball was so good. And I look at their coach, Phil, and he was such a good coach, right? And I used to think about that going, maybe he could play good ball. Okay, so basketball is my second love. I just didn't grow tall enough.
Life happens, right?
That's right. And so you can be a really good coach without necessarily having to be the best player. And I think that's really important for some teachers, especially the teachers that are teaching the really young ones. There are teachers that are so good and they were
Mhm.
born to teach young ones, born to teach even you more advanced that have never really gone beyond a bachelor's degree, or maybe not even that far, but they're still really good teachers, and they immerse themselves. They do perhaps master classes or something to get
Right,
themselves better,
right. It's
right?
that continuing education and
Yeah, yeah,
self-improvement. And
absolutely.
and I like what you mentioned, the coach. Recently, I had a conversation with Glory Saint Germain from Ultimate Music
Sure.
Theory,
Hmm.
and she mentioned that as we teach our students, we have to be both a teacher and a coach. They sometimes coexist at the same moment, as and often they don't. But the students need both of them. So I can certainly see
Absolutely,
that. And
absolutely.
so once a person begin to, which it's a lot of self-examination, and a lot of experiencing actually hands-on working with the students that help us to know who we are. But I think there are a lot of, you see there are two different groups of people out there right now during the pandemic. We have the people who have been teaching for a very long time, like yourself and like myself. And then you have people who realize, oh my God, I can't perform anymore. Maybe I can start teaching. And I think this is, I think for those of us who have been teaching for a long time, this is a great opportunity to really look at ourselves based on experiences, our personality, and also who we want to be.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
it's a different process, right?
Mentioning this group, I think for musicians in general, it is really, I don't know that all of us, many of us, go through our growing up years thinking, wow, one day I'm going to be a music teacher.
Right.
I think we have dreams of one day I'm going to be on stage. I'm going to be performing at Carnegie Hall. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. And you have these great dreams. And then reality hits and you end up teaching. And then you have the chip, like a chip on your shoulder.
That is not good. And even if you made it to the Carnegie Hall, you're still teaching very often. It was funny because yesterday on my feed, somebody else posted YouTube that has nothing to do with me, and I clicked on it, and that was me seeing it at the Carnegie Hall. And, so that was kind of a funny thing. But that doesn't change the fact that I love teaching and I have been teaching for X number of years. And
when I think about in general, the most important job in the whole world is to raise our children to be good, functioning adults that can then make our world even further and better, more beautiful. And so as a teacher, that's our job. We're making sure music has a place in this world, right?
Yes.
We have to share that.
Exactly. So once we define who we are, I want to talk about the next part a little bit more, a little bit differently, because there's so many people out there. They're doing the SEO, they're doing the Facebook marketing, the Instagram, and the whole social media. And I do some of that much more now than I used to, etc. But that is not the heart of how you really do it ongoingly as the pandemic moves towards the next phase, as life and the world moves on. This part will never completely go away, and I love the doors it's opened. And but at the same time, people are getting oversaturated, and whenever a particular marketing method becomes oversaturating, it stops working.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. If you look back at the history of marketing of a piano teacher, okay, I'm going to use piano. It could be any music teacher or any teacher.
Or any business.
Or even really self-employed, right, entrepreneur.
Exactly. Right. Or even performers, because you have to market yourself.
Yeah. So word of mouth seems to be a big one. I hear it all the time in my group. Word of mouth is the way to go. Maybe putting flyers out, putting door hangers on neighbors' doors, doing mass mailings to people, maybe putting your name in a welcome basket. All these things are good. They're great, actually.
Right.
And when you define who you are and you come up with a business plan, you need to decide, how many students do I want? Right? What does my academy look like? Am I going to teach group lessons? Am I going to teach preschoolers? You want to know exactly who your person is when you're going to market. So if you are looking, for example, at filling preschool classes, well, you're not going to market to the preschooler because they can't sign a contract. They can't register. It's going to be their parents that are registering. So you need to figure out, okay, what age group is this parent? And how do you then market to that age group? So preschoolers, those parents.
Oh, we're frozen a little bit.
Actually are, oh no.
Okay, you're back. So those preschoolers, those parents. Okay. Go ahead.
They're a lot of those parents, the age group demographic, they are on Instagram.
Yes.
But if you go a little older to the teenagers, those parents are on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's interesting, depending on what age you are, which social media outlet you can kind of go towards. but you're not going to find them all on social media.
No, and
So
as the
you
time
have to
begins to move
target.
back, right, you have to find them. There,
Yeah.
the people who are going to be making referrals will be the people who are active with the
Yes.
PTAs, right? And how do you reach out to the
Absolutely.
people
Yeah.
who are active with the PTAs? And, just really begin to think of them as actual people, because that's how you define your demographic,
Yes.
is who are the
Well,
people.
and that is
Mhm.
and that is the key. That really truly is the key, is getting out there and making relationships. And
Right,
you may make a relationship with one person who will give you a full studio of students, yet they don't take lessons themselves. So it
right.
doesn't have to necessarily be the person who's going to take lessons. It's the person that knows people that are going to take
Yes.
lessons,
They
and that
are
they
the
know you.
influencers
Number
before social
one,
media came into play,
yes,
right?
they
Hmm.
need to know you and they need to trust you. You have to gain a relationship in order for them to then be able to refer to you.
Right.
It's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
also want to jump back a little bit. I know the idea of writing a business plan could be very daunting to even people who are in business. And I've written many business plans, and I've helped artists of different walks to create not necessarily a full-blown business plan, because you don't need it. The full-blown business plan, the primary purpose of a business plan for the business owner are twofolds. One is a plan for yourself, and which should be flexible, which needs to be able to be modified as you learn where you really want to
Hmm.
go by your experience. And the other part is usually
Because it will
not
change.
applicable.
Yeah.
Right. The other part is usually not applicable, which is what makes writing a business plan sometimes cumbersome, is the ability to go to a bank or somebody else to get a business loan. Now, if you don't need
Mhm.
to write a plan in order to get loans, there are many sections of the business plan that makes you feel crazy. They don't need to be written. So I do
Yeah.
want to put that out there, and I want people to feel free to send me a message or send Tessa a message. And if you want to kind of think about, kind of having a blueprint, because that's what business plan really is. And there are
Yeah.
creative ways for people who are
And
maybe not so
there's
left-brained. Mm-hmm.
that's right. There's different ways. Perhaps it's a number. You dream of making so much money.
Mm.
And for me, when I was younger, I would take that dollar amount and divide it by how many students I needed to get it. And that
Right.
was my goal,
And the
always to
dollar
get that
amount
many
goes
students.
further back of what are you trying to accomplish? What do you
Yeah,
want to have in your life?
absolutely.
And again, it's reverse engineering.
Yeah,
And
it's absolutely
right,
exactly.
right. And
Exactly.
no, the fast forward, once you have that blueprint of what you want to accomplish, you need to
Mhm.
understand the marketing and the demographic, which we sort of covered. But how do
Yeah.
you bring it to full circle? Is it possible to do marketing without having a budget? Because I think a lot of people are struggling right now.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've so often come across teachers that ask me, how come you always have a full studio? How come you're always thriving? And I've had a studio as large as 168 students.
Holy Moses.
Before I had children, I have a family now, they're all grown. And so I've started to build up. My studio usually sits around 50 right now. And that's about as much as I can handle. And really, I would rather be closer to 30 students, but
I've always had about 40, 50, and during the pandemic, it's dropped down to a lower number. To be completely honest, I'm a happier person and a better
yes, I know
teacher,
that's how
you
I
know?
that's how I feel. It gets too much for me. And I have fellow teachers always asking me, what are you doing? And I say, well, throw it back at them. What are you doing? You can't wait and sit around waiting for students to call. Looking at the phone is not going to make the phone ring, right? Looking at your emails, checking them. If you put all of your, let's say you put an ad out on Craigslist, well, what kind of students are you going to get from that? So you really need to think hard about where you're looking and who you want, and you need to put your advertising, which can all be, Craigslist is free, Facebook, social media is all free, but what is the return on it? So there's a couple of different things that you have to look at. One of the things I love to do, which is not normal, I think, for a piano teacher, is I love to network. I
It's
love to
important.
network.
And with
Networking,
non-musicians.
yes, Yes, with non-musicians for certain. I network in like your local chamber of commerce. There's many different networking groups. I happen to belong to BNI, which is Business
Right,
National Business
right,
Network International,
right. I'm
and that's an
familiar with them.
international. And
Right.
let me tell you, BNI for me has been. I mean, I couldn't. My studio just is continuously growing because of BNI, and
Right.
and I've talked about that before. And then people I know, they look into it and it's like, oh my gosh, BNI is so expensive, right? It's pricey. For me, it was worth it. I think in terms of how many students it cost me, 4 students over 1 month. Okay,
You
well,
know, I have a thought about that because I think for people who are comfortable and savvy to be around other business people, BNI is a natural place to be.
absolutely.
But I don't think that's everyone in the music industry, in the teaching profession. And I think there's another place that may be a good place to kind of dip your toe in is the Toastmaster. It's
For
not,
sure.
yeah, it's not technically a networking group, but you get to be in an environment where you are doing presentations, but not as an
And
instructor.
you
You are
learn how to speak and
yeah,
do
and
that.
you get to meet other business people as human beings, and
Mhm.
so without preconceived notions, oh, business people are like that, and I'm like
Yeah,
this. You get a feeling of where where you belong in relationship to that world, which is not
yeah,
all bad and it's not all scary. It's actually very helpful because if you think about the demographic of your students and their parents,
yeah,
that's those people,
yeah.
and there's also a very natural power when you are practicing presenting in front of the Toastmasters. You can talk about what you do as part of your
Yes,
presentation, and that's a very
absolutely.
natural way of just
Yeah,
getting in front of people who are not in your natural network.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I just want to bring that up because I
Yeah,
love the idea of BNI, but I don't think
yeah.
it's
So
comfortable to everyone. Right.
BNI, unlike some of the other networking groups that I've been in, master networkers, and some
Right.
of the other ones that I've gone and visited, the one difference about BNI, and I know I belong to it. I'm not pushing it, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, um, they do have a philosophy of givers gain. So they
Yes,
give
they do.
more. They give
Mhm.
more than they
Yeah,
receive. So when you go and share your story, they want to give, they want to help
they
people,
do. They want
and
to
by
help
helping
you.
people you make relationships, which then helps to grow your
Yes.
business, right?
And
And so
and
one of
yeah,
the
and
one of the
finding
really
mentors
yeah,
too.
one of the really interesting things when I first started BNI, I didn't even consider myself a business person, yet I had been in
Right.
the business world for so long.
Mm.
um, I never thought of myself really as a business person. And then being in there, I realized, wow, we are entrepreneurs. We do run our own businesses. And you have to think of yourself as a business person. Putting that business person hat on is very different from
Very
being
different.
that
It's
pianist.
right because
Yeah.
it's so. My experience was so different because when I was part of the BNI, I was a financial planner. And
Yes.
I've had a career performing, and I've gone to a top music school. And in the middle part, like you said, to the main side gig, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm very good at taking tests. And so I got my stockbroker's license. I got all of those of my training, and I was a financial planner. But I do want to share this because I think this is very encouraging. For some reason, everyone was gravitating towards me because I was a musician.
Yes. Because they can
You
learn
know?
from you
Yeah, and they are
something
fascinated.
different.
Everybody wants something that's human. In
Yes.
the business world, people are craving for something human, and
Yes.
music and the arts is a representation of humanity. And so I really encourage people to not be scared. And if you feel you want to practice Toastmaster, start with that. Get
Yeah.
used to being in front of
Well,
people.
and if you want to try BNI, let me know. I can help you, walk you through it before you even go. That would be an easy. When you come to BNI, you get a 60-second commercial basically as a
Right.
visitor. You go and you can give your 60-second commercial. So that's when you're like your elevator pitch. You need
Mhm.
to sell yourself. You say who you are. You say maybe a little bit of a story, but it has to be very short because you only have 1 minute. And then you say exactly what you're looking for. I'm looking
Right.
for the 7-year-old student. So parents that you know that have 7-year-old students, send them my way, right?
You help them the KISS method, right? Keep
Yes.
it simple and Well, the word I know is stupid. Keep it simple and stupid. I know there's another way of saying it, but that's the one that stuck with me.
But that's exactly it.
Yeah, you want to make it easy for them. You don't want them to work so hard to figure out how to help you.
The one thing about BNI is that they've grown even more now. I think there's over 30,000 chapters around the world, worldwide. So in every not every country, but I think it's 57, something like this, countries around the world. And anyone can visit any chapter up to 2 times. It doesn't cost anything. So if you're looking to build your business, it's a really easy way. Look up BNI in your city. If you don't want to teach people in your city because you're teaching online, which makes it hard to, if you teach in your own city and you're wanting to stay online, they may want to come in person eventually. So if you want to make sure that they stay online, I'm in Minnesota, so I go and visit BNI in Milwaukee, and I got a student in Milwaukee.
How do you do that?
So you can go onto bni.com and find a chapter. There's a thing right there. You just find a chapter.
So are they running the meetings virtually, in person?
All meetings are done via Zoom right now. So it's actually an ideal time to visit. You can visit, 100 chapters in a week if it works into your time schedule.
Tessa,
and I guarantee you will get students.
I want to start a challenge with you between you and I. I'm going to start. I would like to see more people want to try. So I'm going to be the first person. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to have you be my buddy in this. And maybe we can continue to share via Facebook and also Instagram and how it's going between the two of us. Because I think it's always helpful for people to see it to be in action. And would you like to do that with me?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing, and I know you have a huge bag of tricks, different publications and things that's relative, because we do have to be conscientious of the budget with people going through a really hard time financially right now, and there's so many options.
There's so many options to do it without spending a dime. Really.
Do you have a trick bag that you can share with us? Maybe we can tag it on, and people can send us a message, or we can have a link later on we can post that people can reach out, and we can get that trick bag from you.
Oh, let me think. I'm sure I can put something together, Shirley. I didn't think of it.
That's okay, because I think
what I do have is a really fabulous content calendar for musicians. So if you're wanting it, actually I've put it together so that it covers all the content you would need for 1 month, and you can then tweak it each month for what you want. But basically it's a calendar for a month, and in that calendar it has Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. And
wow.
So I'm happy to share that calendar.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And I think we need to continue this conversation. And because I happen to know personally from our past experiences with each other, you have so many other ideas. And I think we should just have little tidbits of little updates where we can do a little bit of joint live, whether it's on we can do on Instagram and toggle back to Facebook and all kinds of stuff, because I think this is very appropriate for our time. And as the schools are contemplating opening up, as the vaccines are becoming available, as we're beginning to have to reconsider who we are going to be, as the world has already changed, so have we. What next? And I think this is a really important conversation and topic, and it's not a one-time thing. And that was the reason why we have recorded another session in the past.
Yeah.
But the world has already changed since we recorded it.
It has, yeah.
And I just want to thank you so much for your generosity and willingness to share, because there's enough to go around for everyone.
Well, there is enough to go around, and really, honestly, helping other people, like, that is my passion, to help other people succeed. And I already have my business, so why not help other people?
I love that. That is so beautiful.
And I don't have to, it doesn't always have to be about money. not saying that money is a bad thing, but when you're helping others to succeed, that's
What
part of that
goes
giver's
around
gain.
comes
Yeah, the giver's
around.
gain philosophy. You give,
Right.
you give, you give. Yeah, and you will gain in return, and so that's okay. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Tessa, one of the things I want to say besides all that is I'm so glad to have you as my friend. And
Yes.
because of
Too.
the pandemic, I think people are much more open to meeting people all over the place, all over the world. And one of the greatest gains for me during this time are the new friends. And you're one of those people I truly
Yes.
treasure.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
so glad we were able to connect. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. So now we're gonna say goodbye, but not really, right? So
That's right.
yeah, this is what we where we're gonna conclude today's talk. But there'll be a lot more resources to come because I just think it's a service and something that we all need. It's a tool. It's this toolkit, so to speak. And with you, it feels like it's an endless tool, bottomless toolkit. And I'm just so grateful you're willing to share. So thank you, Tessa, and thank
Shirley.
you for being with us. When I say us, I mean everybody who watches. And I'm so looking forward to more follow-ups, and we'll put it out there to help people. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.